So first of all, Scottie Pippen, this is just a terrible lack of take integrity by you. No consistency in your take, because I'm old enough to remember a few years ago when you said LeBron was better than Jordan, and a few years before that when you said you were better than Jordan, and now LeBron's not even better than Kobe. And
Nick, what justifies a change in opinion?
New facts, new information.
There you go.
And so since Scottie had said LeBron's better than Jordan, and now the knock is lack of a clutch gene, we saw just 6 months ago LeBron in a 3-week span hit more playoff buzzer beaters than Kobe did in his entire career. And Kobe hadn't been playing since this change in opinion happened. Here's the deal. See, you get a little irritated at times when I just announce and I say...
No, never with you, man.
When I just say as a fact, LeBron's the greatest player ever. But here's the reality. There's 5 guys that you can make a credible case for because their specific case applies only to them. By that, I mean this. If you were to say, you know who the greatest player ever is? Wilt Chamberlain. You could argue it.
Yes.
Based on statistical dominance. If I were to say, what's the one word as to why Wilt's the greatest, you'd say stats. Bill Russell. You can argue it for him. He's the greatest winner ever. 11 championships in 13 years in the pros. So what's the argument for Russell? Championships. Kareem is the third guy you can make the argument for. The greatest start to finish of a basketball life anyone has ever had.
What did he accomplish in his first 4 years, Nick?
I mean, how about high school? Was the best player in the world.
Yep.
Goes to UCLA, isn't allowed to play his freshman year, and then once he is allowed to play, wins 3 championships. By his second year in the NBA, he's a Finals MVP, League MVP, best player in the league, more points than anyone ever, 6 titles, more MVPs than anyone ever. So for Kareem, it's the totality of the career. For Jordan, it's the apex. It's a decade of dominance unlike anything we've seen from 1988 to 1998.
Right. And it's also the merchandising, the showmanship. It's those things.
And if we had to associate one word with why Michael Jordan is the greatest ever, it would be invincibility. It's that it seemed like he couldn't be beaten. And then with LeBron, it's longevity. It's the fact that we have seen him take teams to the brink of championships that other guys would have missed the playoffs with in 07 with the Cavs, his first year back with the Cavs after the injuries, the last year with the Cavs. It's the longevity. And if there was one phrase or word associated with LeBron, it'd be the all-around game. Those are the 5 guys. Magic might be better than Wilt, but you can't make a case for Magic because Magic's decade of dominance falls short of Jordan's. Right. Kobe has a lot of similarities to Jordan, but he's not in the discussion.
Right, because then it's not only the numbers, it's about effective and efficient. Yeah. How efficient they're playing basketball when you get to those.
And all of these guys, except for Wilt and Russell, are the unquestioned greatest of their era. Man, people need to start putting some respect on Tim Duncan's name. Tim Duncan and Kobe are the same era. Oh, well, Duncan had Popovich. Kobe had Phil Jackson. Duncan had great teammates. Kobe won 3 championships with Shaq. Duncan won 50 games every year of his career, except for the year the season was only 50 games. Kobe missed the playoffs and got bounced in the first round twice the following years. Duncan won 5 titles. Kobe won 5. Duncan has 3 finals MVPs. Kobe's got 2. Duncan's got 2 regular season MVPs. Kobe's got 1. So, we keep skipping over Tim Duncan when we're talking about this. And part of that, is because, let's say Jordan never existed. He played baseball forever. And the greatest player ever was considered Kareem. Then I feel like people would respect Duncan more because Duncan would remind you of him.
Absolutely.
But instead, because Jordan existed and Kobe reminded you of
And
Jordan,
we were looking for the next Jordan.
Absolutely.
As always.
And so, but your guy Pip, who I know it's your guy,
Right, but it's hard to do television also when you're wearing a Michael Jordan brand sweatsuit. So seriously, it's hard. It's a lot easier to drink the Kool-Aid when you're there making it. So Scottie, he doesn't have any consistency. Scottie does have a tremendous amount of credibility because he played with so many great players and he was part of that. But it's impossible to go to 8 straight championships and not be clutch. So what you're saying, it doesn't make sense. So I can understand you heard someone else say that, but you can't prove that to be true.
And as we were saying earlier, with new information, you can develop new opinions. As of the end of the NBA Finals against the Mavericks, LeBron was everything but clutch. That is a fair critique. He melted down in his biggest moment. But since then, from that moment to now, he has more playoff buzzer beaters than anybody in history. He has more regular season buzzer beaters than Kobe if we want to do clutch stuff. He averages more points in elimination games and game sevens than any player in history. Those are all the clutch situations we saw last year's playoffs. The clutch stuff should be the only clutch associated with LeBron in a negative way is these days the agency that people don't like, and that's clutch with a K. See, they got to come out of the All-Star break on fire. Here's what they got out of the All-Star break. Houston, then New Orleans, Memphis, New Orleans again, Milwaukee, Phoenix, and then the 7th game after the break's the LA Clippers, the team they are chasing for the 8th spot. Like, if they are not 4-2 minimum going into that Clippers game, then the final 20 games of the year, 18 games of the year are going to be meaningless. Like, I have that Clippers game circled. Everyone should. They will be favored against New Orleans, Memphis, New Orleans again, and Phoenix. That Anthony Davis might not have even been playing for New Orleans.
They were favored against the Hawks.
Well, listen, that was a terrible loss, which is they can't have any more of those. Because at the end of the year, the schedule gets real tough. No more bad losses for the Los Angeles Lakers and come out of the All-Star break hot. To me, that's the formula to give them a real shot.
The real part to that formula is what's going to be their psyche. What's going to be their attitude of these young players? Are we going to sit around and continue to complain? Oh, they were talking about trading me. Yeah, if you're a good player, if you're part of an organization in professional sports, at some point in your career, they're going to be talking about trading you. They were talking about trading you for one of the top 5 players in the world, though. It's not like they were trying to trade you for some
salary dump.
So they need to be able to remove that from their mind and just try to be the best basketball player. So that, to me, is the #1 thing that they must do. Number 2 is they got to stay healthy. I don't care what you say. If they don't have their bodies, they're not deep enough to be able to sustain the types of injuries that they have. So if they're healthy, they're going to be in the playoffs. And I think that all of us, myself included, missed out on how important Lonzo Ball was going to be defensively. Because when you look at him, Josh Hart, Tyson Chandler, those are the 3 best defenders that they have. We didn't think that the impact of him being out would be felt on the defensive end. So since like the 3rd week in January, they have been one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA after being surprisingly a top 10 defensive team. So that part right there, it's about a mindset for these younger players. And don't get too caught up in Mangini. Don't look at Nick. Don't look at the dang on schedule. Just play them out night by. We don't have enough focus. We saw that in Atlanta, Jenna.
Yeah.
To be looking down, hey, you know who we got next Wednesday? Man, let's get it done tonight. It starts with a singular mindset in these younger players. Let's stop making excuses. Also, they need some luck on their side from an injury standpoint.
All right, so you mentioned the 2 big things. 1, those young players. Number 2, the injuries. But would a close third be LeBron James re-engaging as we need him to do, or the Lakers needed to do after the All-Star break? Especially since there were no real changes made at the trade deadline.
So it's really odd because that Hawks game, for example, he had 28 points, 11 rebounds, and 16 assists, and would have had his career high in assists if they just made layups. Would have been 20-plus assists. I mean, it was on layups. First play of the game to late in the game. Kuzma, who's been their second-best player, was blowing them the entire game. He wasn't the only one. So I don't feel like LeBron's been disengaged, but LeBron has made the choice of we are going to, and maybe it's strategic, maybe it's because if we're going to do anything in the playoffs, the other guys are going to have to make big shots. He's made the choice of I'm going to let you guys do it. The way I'm going to engage is I'm going to get the offense going, and I'm going to get my assists up. I'm going to get you the ball. But to answer your question, yeah, against that, when I say that Clippers game, LeBron needs to have the mentality in that game. Let's go for 40. Because you don't have the luxury of we are building towards something, so maybe we take a loss here that we shouldn't because I'm going to let Kuzma try to run this. Every single game is critical. You are 3 back with 25 to play. Three back of the 8th spot. Forget the 7th spot. So I think that's where it re-engaged or maybe a slightly different approach than he's had post-injury.
If I am the coaching staff, I'm going to put more pressure on LeBron, on Rondo, on guys like that because LeBron was in the same spot last year. Now, they didn't have the same record, but if you look at making a trade, they made a couple trades. But the Lakers didn't make a trade, but the organization was in disarray. And LeBron had to start cooking with grease down at the end. And he played basketball those last 10, 15 games like they were getting ready for this playoff. The biggest question is, how healthy is LeBron James right now? If he is he at 80% right now? How hard is he going to be able to go these last 25 games? That's what I need to see. And if he's at 100%, which I don't think he is, it's going to be a problem for the Lakers coming down the stretch.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.